Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada. This month, for the Global Stampin' Video Hop, we are featuring plants and flowers. So I am using, this is such a sleeper in the catalog, the Tranquil Thoughts bundle. So many beautiful mixed font sentiments. We've got these images and the dies. Oh my gosh, the dies are what sold me. So we've got this amazing tropical border. It can go vertical, it can go horizontal. I said those backwards, but you know what I mean. It's got this great leaf cutout, and then there's another one that we're going to use first. I have gone ahead and done a bit of the die cutting, and I'm doing a catalog mashup. So we're going to use something from the mini catalog and something from the annual catalog. I thought about using the giraffe, but the sloth is where it's at. So let me just give you a peek of this. So it's a little fun fold. We've got these leaves. I added a little ladybug. And then when you open it, you can see the sloth. I've added my tropical leaves there. And then there's a vellum insert. You can see the ribbon covers part of it. I've stamped on there. Hope you feel better really soon. And then I've added a little bit of that tropical border again, and then colored my sloth. So let me show you how to create this. I love this vellum panel. It may be that this is something that's been done in the past, but I've never seen this where you get an additional panel by having vellum in there. So I love it. Now, I know you can't see the sloth very well through there, but that's kind of the point. So let's get our craft on, and I'll show you how I did this. So I mentioned that I was holding back one of the dies. So this one doesn't cut the border. It, well, you'll see. So I like to do this where, which way do I like to do it? It kind of looks like a warthog. Think Pumbaa, that's his little face. He's standing on one leg. There's the front legs. It's really cute. And then I went ahead. I've got one that I have already die cut and cut out. I've got, this is all old olive, by the way, old olive border. And you're probably wondering why I mixed old olive and shaded spruce. It was just so that it wasn't all old olive. So this is the panel that we'll cut down to put on the back. Initially, I had thought about keeping the entire panel on here, but it covered up too much of the sloth. So I chose to go with just the top. We've got our leaf. We've got some flowers because, I mean, this is plants and flowers. Initially, I only had plants, and I thought, let's bring in some flowers, shall we? We've got a piece of basic white. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then my vellum is 4 by 6. And I've done a 1/2 inch score line there. These aren't going to line up perfectly. We're going to fold this and cover it with our ribbon, but it'll all make sense as we go. Now, I did find that using my Simply Scored was the best way to score this. If you use your paper trimmer, it doesn't score enough. It's almost like it wants to cut. So I recommend the Simply Scored for that. So I will bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I don't want to get all the impressions from my plate on there, so we're going to make it look like we're doing some partial die cutting. We will line this up. Just going to use a little piece of purple tape to keep it where I want it. And then let's just feed this on through. Now, like I said, this one doesn't cut the border. It only cuts and embosses that insert. Let's bring it back through. So now we can peel this away, and look at that. Isn't that the most gorgeous window you've ever seen? Before I go any further, I am going to add a little bit of spritz on here because I felt like it was a little bit too much old olive on old olive on old olive. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap that I had used for a previous video. And I'm just going to spritz. This is Mossy Meadow. Don't want to add more old olive since I just said it was more old olive on more old olive. And I know it looks super awkward the way I'm holding it. I'm just trying to keep it closed so that I don't get ink on the inside. although it's not the end of the world. One of the most important things to know when spritzing is when to stop, because it can go from looking great to overdone like that. Okay, so that is the front. I did get a little bit there, but that part's going to be covered. So I am going to adhere all of this before I adhere the vellum onto here. That was a lot of heres, wasn't it? So I will use some liquid adhesive. And this will show through to the back. If you're concerned, you can use a sponge dauber and just spread it really thin. But because this is a larger piece, you don't have a lot of time to work with this before the glue starts to dry. And all the fun is on the front panels of this. So if someone's turning it around to look at it, I don't know. They might want to see how you did it. Okay, so this goes all the way across, all the way down. We might have to trim this little piece right at the top, but it fits like a glove. Because I use liquid adhesive, I've got a little bit of time to shimmy around. So you can see the glue on the back, but no big thing, right? So we can stamp our sentiment. I use Stays On because I'm using vellum. I'll get a fresh piece of grid paper. So we're going to stamp it right around here. So I am using this sentiment from Punch Party, but if you don't have this one, and we only have a couple more days to get this one, I would recommend using Hope Things Get Better Soon. So we'll do that this time. Because chances are when you see this video, Celebration is going to be over and you won't be able to get that stamp set anymore. Can you believe it's almost over? I know it was only 2 months this year, but it flew. I can't believe that February is almost over. The other reason that I'm using this one is that Punch Party is a photopolymer stamp set. And while you can use Stays On with it, it is preferred that you use red rubber stamps with Stays On. Okay, so I'm using my jet black only because I'm stamping my Sloth in Memento Tuxedo black. So let's stick with black. I'm going to stamp it right about here. And I like to let it sit for a few seconds, give it a little wiggle back and forth. It's not straight, but that's okay. We're done with Stays On because the Sloth is getting stamped on basic white. So when you use Stays On, you always want to use Stays On Cleaner. Not only does it clean, it conditions. It's like a 2-in-1 shampoo. And then you can just clean it with your chamois. Good as new. So I'll grab my Sloth and we'll stamp him as well. This part is ready to go. We just have to score it. So with this part, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to see your Sloth. I know that you can't see him very well. You can't even see him very well in person because I've put those extra bits and pieces, but we want to be able to kind of see him. So we're going to go, let's line it up at the bottom. I'm going to stamp him at about the 4.5 inch mark. I'm going to take this out and add in a little bit of a buffer. This doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be precise. I honestly think people enjoy getting handmade, and if it's not perfect, I mean, we're not Hallmark. We're handmade, not Hallmark, right? So let's stamp him so his little tree comes to the edge of the basic white. Give him a good press. There we go. Didn't go right to the edge. But if you wanted him to go right to the edge and you've missed it, you don't have to start over. You don't have to re-stamp him. You can, after it's colored, because we're using alcohol markers and it would run, after it's colored, you can come in with a journaling pen or your basic black Stampin' Write marker and fill that in. But not before we've colored him with the alcohol blends. With the Stampin' blends. Okay, so that is all of our stamping. We'll color him, put this in, add our ribbon, and then we'll layer up the front. So crooked. And the front doesn't take very long. For this part, see what I mean? It would have covered up way too much of him. So instead of trying to fussy cut in there, I actually turned it around and it was easier to just take it off of this part. All I have to do is kind of eyeball it. And I mean, we could take it out here. When I did it the first time, I took off that whole branch. Maybe let's stick with it. Cut this off, and we'll just follow this branch up. Isn't that fantastic? I just love it. So if you haven't given this Tranquil Thought bundle a thought, please consider doing so. It's so much fun. Okay, so for my Sloth, I colored him in gray granite. I've got a little bit of, I'm gonna say that's the bronze, and then a little bit of old olive. And then just a tiny bit of crumb cake. Let me leave that open. So gray granite, light and dark. And I'm just going to come in and copy what the artist has done. So I'll go over all these little black lines. Add this on. Take a ruler to help me keep this straight. And then give it a little score towards you. We don't need to fold it all on top of itself. And now let's use some Stampin' Seal Plus. We're gonna have used every adhesive in our arsenal, aren't we? Okay, so now we're going to adhere this right at the fold line, not on top of the fold line, but so that the two kind of stack. I think if it weren't for this ribbon, this color combination wouldn't work. Okay, so we'll press that down. And now we can just tie a little knot. And when you are trying to tie a bow, a knot, whatever it is, I highly suggest using a pair of reverse tweezers because it basically gives you another hand. We're almost there. Now, because I, again, was doing old olive on old olive, I felt like this wasn't standing out enough. So I actually took my light old olive Stampin' Blend marker and colored the whole thing. It doesn't give it a lot of depth. So we are going to pop this part up. And if you want, you could probably use adhesive sheet. I am going to use dimensionals. Now, with this, because there are so many little bits and pieces, I did find that using the edges of mini dimensionals was the easier way to go. Just line it up over top of the original one. And you can, this shaded spruce one is entirely optional. You can put it in any one of the 4 corners, which is fantastic. If we put it on this one, we are completely covering our sloth. So I think I will stick with the bottom corner, and I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive in that bottom corner. So this ties in nicely, don't you think? And I'm going to skip this leaf. It was actually an offcut from that piece from the inside, but I feel like it's a little unnecessary. So we'll add a couple of flowers, and that's only because the theme of this was plants and flowers. I could just leave it at the plants. So I stamped this. It's Melon Mambo on Melon Mambo cardstock with Melon Mambo ink. I'm just going to fussy cut it. There is a die that cuts out all 3, but I just want this one. Let's take that off. And then I'll Stampin' die cut a couple for the front. Couple flowers, our ladybug, and we are done. I know this was probably longer than was necessary, but there's some good tips, right? And if you've never heard this tip for fussy cutting, it might help you. When you are fussy cutting kind of a finicky shape like this, if you turn your cardstock versus moving your scissors, it is a great help. Now I tucked 1 flower in there on my sample, but I'm just going to do the one here. And then I will Stampin' die cut a couple of flowers, and almost there. I know I said that before. It's for real this time. Just going to do this little flower, which is stuck. I know this block is overkill, but it's the one that I have handy. I don't know if there are ladybugs in the jungle, but for our purposes, there are. So I've got my light Magenta Madness Stampin' Blend. Use whatever you've got, and I'm going to color the shell, I guess it would be. You could color the other parts black, but you're not going to see a whole lot of this. You're just going to see that it's pink. I felt like if I just put this ladybug on there in its regular form, whatever color that was, it wasn't going to match with anything else, and it was just too out there. So I'm putting a glue dot on the underside, and we'll just pop that on. There has to be ladybugs in the jungle, right? I mean, there's bugs, maybe not ladybugs, but now we'll just pop these little guys in. So I'm just using some liquid glue again. Can't speak. I did contemplate putting a sentiment on the outside, and I thought, no, let's leave it where the leaves are the focal point. And the sentiment will be on the inside. Okay, so I'm going to tuck this one in back here. And you could glue this leaf down if you want, but there we go. We are done. What do you think? Hope things get better soon, and it doesn't even look crooked now, does it? Let me show you one closed, one open, just for comparison's sake. And let me know, do you love this little vellum extra layer technique? Have you seen it before? Have you done it before? this was your first time here, thank you so much for watching and welcome. Oh, we lost a flower. Thought that one had lost too much glue. If this was your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad that you stumbled upon me. Please consider hitting that subscribe button below. You will catch a new video each and every week. In the last couple weeks, I've been kind of out of sync, but we're doing some home renos, so I promise it will get back to every Monday, regularly scheduled programming. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products and you live in Canada and you are not currently working with a demonstrator, I would be thrilled to be your demonstrator. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon, my crafty friends. Bye.